Hello, Von Tom 2020 here with 2020 MC Gaming, and today we are going to work on a block-by-block tutorial for my slime block flying machine bamboo farm. So that is the beast behind us, and we are going to go through all the materials, the building process, and furthermore, what we are going to do is we are going to build it in survival mode. Now, I prefer to do tutorials in survival mode because most people who are going to be following a tutorial, they're not going to be in creative mode, they're going to be in survival mode. So we're going to do it that way. That'll show you the specific steps, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more like what you're going to experience when you're actually playing the game. And now for a brief overview before we really get into it. So this farm is modular, meaning that you can make it as big as you want, but I chose to make it as big as one chunk. That means the entire farm is going to sit inside of one chunk, inside the boundaries, with the exception of that one block right there. Now I could have made it slightly smaller and fit that thing in there, but didn't feel like going that far. So a redstone timer is going to go send a signal that's going to set off a minecart and a flying machine. Just about simultaneously. The flying machine is going to break the bamboo, and the minecart hopper is going to travel underneath on a rail and pick up all of the bamboo drops. Now, honestly, this one single chest right here is probably not going to be enough for a full functioning farm. You want a lot more chests than that, but I set it up like this just for simplicity. Okay, checking out the signal path. The redstone block right here over these two hoppers with the pistons is going to be a standard hopper clock with 2 stacks of items that are stackable to 64. And it's going to push that redstone block back and forth on top of the hoppers, which will create a signal, in this case, somewhere around every 3 to 4 minutes, somewhere in there. When the timer goes off, this redstone right here is going to create a signal that is going to pass to the left through a pulse extender and also simultaneously upwards through those 2 observer blocks right there. Okay, there it just kicked off, and you'll see the pulse extender fired. That's the pulse extender with the 2 comparators, and it sent a signal along this redstone path through these 2 repeaters and turned on that rail right there. Now simultaneously the signal went through these 2 observer blocks, through that repeater, and through that repeater, and it triggered that trap door right there, which updated our observer block on our flying machine and sent our flying machine moving. Now this is our return station, and it's set up very similar to the send station. The observer block updates this little trap door right here, which triggers our flying machine to go back to the beginning where it's going to dock. It's actually quite simple, very, very easy to set up. It's a little bit easier than it looks. It looks complex. It's really not, though. So you can make the thing longer. You can extend it out the back end and make it as long as you like, but the longer the farm is, the more lag you're going to get when the flying machine kicks off. Not just from the flying machine, but from the breaking bamboo. Now, to have the thing fly less often, you could add more items to these 2 hoppers right here so that the flying machine was triggered less frequently. Now that would make the bamboo grow taller, which would mean you would have to make these walls taller. And you'd have a big lag spike when it first kicked off, but you would get more bamboo growth less frequently. So it might average out. I like to have the bamboo short and have the thing kick off less frequently. That's my personal favorite. And I like the timer because it's a little bit more regulated than using observer blocks to catch the bamboo height. Now here's my favorite part, the materials and tools. So the materials and tools. This materials box has the exact materials in the exact amounts. Rail, powered rail, 6 repeaters, 4 comparators, 2 trapdoors, 4 hoppers, 6 observers, 4 sticky pistons, 1 block of redstone, 47 torches, 14 redstone, 2 obsidian, 2 furnaces, 2 lime stained glass, 13 slime blocks, And lime glass is absolutely necessary. 1 hopper minecart, some chests. I got 4. You could have as many as you want. And a block that will not stick to a slime block. That would be melons, leaf blocks, glazed terracotta, whatever you want. I'm going with glazed terracotta. I just happen to like it. And of course, melons would be the cheaper option, and leaves also would be a very cheap option. But we need grass blocks, and you could also use podzol. We're going to be using podzol. You could also use gravel, which you can place on top of railroad tracks. It'll hover in the air. Some blocks are your favorites. I'm going to use polished andesite and some white stained glass, or whatever glass you want. I'm using glass. You could use whatever you want, really. Now, you'll need some tools. I've got the pick of destiny, my favorite pick, and super spoon, my favorite spoon. You'll want that for collecting whatever. And of course, scaffolding. The most recent addition of the game. How could we build without scaffolding? I mean, we've been doing it all the way through 1.13, but whatever. So, this chest, same thing. Except for podzol instead of glass, and I just rounded the numbers off for some of the bits and pieces. So I'd rather have a little bit left over than not enough, and I don't think I got enough of my standard building blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and get all cheaty and get some more. There's duplicates of my tools and my scaffolding, so I think we're ready to go. So step 1. We decide what we're going to build. I've got a little sign over here to designate the front of the build. So when I'm saying the front, I'm talking about this side. And we're going to build a pad that is 16 by 16. It's going to fill a chunk. And we're going to put 4 1-block deep trenches in that. So starting from the front to the left, be 3 blocks, and then a 1-block deep trench, and then 2 blocks normal height. And then a 1-block deep trench, 2 more blocks regular height, another trench, 2 more blocks, another trench, and then there should be 3 on the outside to the right. 1 row along the back and 4 along the front. So I'll stare at this a little bit, or you can pause the video and then just duplicate this. So to start off, I am going to grab some polished granite. I didn't have that before, and I'm going to tell you why I'm bringing it back in. And some polished andesite. Now, I like these 2 blocks because they have definite polished edges. It makes them very easy to count. That's also why I use the smooth stone blocks for the rest of the build. Now, I like the polished granite because I'm going to use it to show where my redstone signal is going to be for my powered rails. It just makes it easier when you're putting down powered rails to know, hey, everywhere where I've got a granite block placed, that's where some power is going to be. That's where a powered rail goes. I love that design. So before we do our next step, let me go ahead and switch into survival mode. And there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put redstone torches inside these trenches. Now these trenches should be 11 blocks long, 1 block wide, 1 block deep. And we're going to put a redstone torch in every single one of them. Now if you're really wealthy and you've got redstone blocks, you can just use redstone blocks, but I'm just going to line them with torches. Now we're going to cover them up. We're going to use our granite because this is going to indicate to us as we're putting on rail, everywhere where there's a granite, there's a redstone torch, and that's where a powered rail goes. So we're just going to cover these up. Now that we're done with that, we're going to fill up the gaps in between each of our rows of granite with our polished andesite until we've got one big giant platform that is 11 by 14. Now looking at it from the front of the farm, it's going to be 14 from, whoops. Oop, did you see me try to do that? I thought I was still in creative mode trying to break that block with my fist. I don't have my pickaxe on me either. Okay, so looking at this from the front of the farm, it's going to be 14 wide from left to right and 11 long. And I just got to put in 2 more blocks right here, and then we'll be done with the platform. And we're going to put 1 block right there, a block on top of it, and let me run over here and get my pickaxe. I'm in survival mode after all. Get rid of this block. Then we're going to chop the block out from underneath right here and put a redstone torch there. Okay, pretty simple so far, right? Pretty simple. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make a line of blocks going across the very front of the farm. This is where our timer and our pulse extender are going to go. And before I forget, we're going to put a block right there, count 4 empty blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and put one right there. And I forgot some bits and pieces. Let's go ahead and make our timer real quick here. It's actually really simple. So we're going to need our redstone block, our hoppers, and our we're going to need 2 sticky pistons. And we're going to need a couple of comparators, 2. Oh, we're going to need them for the pulse extender, so we'll just take all 4. A couple of repeaters, and let's go ahead and get our rail out too, because we're going to be putting the rail down in a second here as well. Now, when I was looking at the front of the farm, I realized I'd put down the place where our minecart's going to launch in the wrong place, and I found a weird bug. My chests turn invisible. So it's visible if I put it right there, and I put one right there, and one right there, it's visible, and I put one over here. It's invisible. I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to start the game over and see if it fixes or something. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Okay, trying this again. The chest goes right there. We're on the front side of the farm. And it opens correctly. Everything looks cool. Let's get back in survival mode. That freaked me out for a second there, that weird invisible chest. Okay, so we're going to put a hopper right there. And we're going to put a block right there. Now again, we're on the front left-hand side of the farm. Now we're going to skip a block right behind the hopper, and we're going to connect that line of blocks all the way across the front. And this is what it should look like. Alright, so right here, that's where this is where the hopper clock goes. And the signal path is going to come over here to where the unloading hopper is. So we put a repeater right there. Put a block on the face of that so it's hovering in the air. A second repeater right around the corner, like that. Now coming back down to this end, let's make the hopper clock. We put a comparator right there. A blob of redstone dust on the top. Another comparator. A little dotted redstone dust right there. Now we're going to place a temporary block and aim a hopper into that temporary block. Break your temporary block. And then put a hopper going directly into the other hopper so that technically they are feeding into each other. Just like that. Okay, so that little piece of redstone dust up there, we're going to aim for its hitbox and place a sticky piston. See how you can just see the wireframe outline of the hitbox? Right there. We're going to do the same on this side. Aim for the hitbox. There you go, just like that. All right, now that's as far as we're going to go right now, because what we don't want to do is finish the clock and then have the sound of these pistons going off in the background constantly while we're building the rest of the farm and giving us a redstone signal. We're just going to leave it like this for the minute, proceed with the rest of the build, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Now here's what it's going to look like. We got a redstone torch around the corner right there to the right here, and we got that redstone block up there. It's going to feed into our pulse extender right here with the comparators. Now, starting one block over from our hopper clock, we're going to put down 3 blocks. And we're going to get our comparators out, put one facing this way, one facing in the opposite direction. We're going to put down a couple of dots of redstone dust on that side, 2 on that side, and we're going to run a line down here to our repeater. We'll be putting a redstone torch right here eventually, but we'll get there in a second. Okay, rearranging our inventory, we're going to get the rails out. Now we're going to put down the rails. So we need a powered rail on the hopper. Oop, I forgot a redstone dust. Forgive me, folks, I forgot a redstone dust. I need a redstone dust. You might have already noticed it. We just need a dot of redstone dust in the corner there. No big deal. No big deal. Don't panic. Yeah, so if you get to the end of the video and your thing doesn't work and you missed me saying all that ridiculous stuff, I can't help you, buddy. Okay, powered rail on top of the hopper. Regular rail is going to bend the corner. And now here's where the granite pays off. Everywhere where you see granite, put down a powered rail. Everywhere you see andesite, put down a regular rail. Or, you know, whatever blocks you use. I really hope you used different blocks for where your power was than from where your blocks were. And if your memory is good enough to where you don't have to worry about stuff like that, then God love you. That is good. My brain doesn't work like that, honestly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lay out all this track. Now, you know, most people who have played around with track in Minecraft know how finicky this stuff can be. So I know that there's probably a better way to do this. I'm not genius enough to figure it out, but I'm just going to lay it down one bit at a time because the track never seems to mess with me like this. Now, the orientation of the farm, yeah, you might have to do it differently because you guys know how the track acts sometimes, but if you kind of lay it out like this, one piece of track at a time and take your patience and go all the way across left to right, it ought to do the right thing for you. And here we go. And of course, last one I do, I put down the wrong one. Very last piece is powered rail, and it should get powered by that torch we put under the corner right there. So all of your rail should be powered except for the very, very first piece we put down on top of the hopper right there, which only gets powered when the farm turns on. Okay, so let's rearrange our inventory now a little bit. We're going to need some regular blocks and whatever grass blocks or podzol or sand or whatever. Oh, and we need our scaffolding. That's going to be the funnest part. I've been waiting for scaffolding for a while, ever since I heard about it. All right, aim at the hitbox for that first piece of rail and right on top of it and just place a block. It should hover in the air above. And now you're going to place solid blocks in a straight line going around the farm, one block outside the area that you've covered with tracks. When you get to this corner, it should go right over the top of that block above the redstone torch, extend it on down to the front. One too many. There you go. And then extend it across the front. So this should basically form a square that goes around the area that's covered by your tracks. Nice and simple. And so now we get to break out the scaffolding. Yeah. That's the coolest thing. And that's what it should look like. How exciting. All right, so now we are going to fill that square that we just made with the block of your choice, as long as it's a block that bamboo will grow on. And this block is going to cover this entire inside area, and the minecart hopper will pull the bamboo drops through whatever block this is. So we're using podzol because I just think it looks cool. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you could use dirt, coarse dirt, grass blocks. You could even use gravel because you can place gravel on top of railroad tracks like this. It will hover in the air, it will grow bamboo, and it will be stable enough, but I just like podzol. So let me finish this up real quick, and then I'll catch you guys when this thing is all dirt blocked in, or podzled. I'll catch you guys when this is all podzled. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. We're going to go back into creative mode because I forgot to bring food. And if you'll check out my hunger bar, it's been a hard day's work on the bamboo farm, and I'm starting to get hungry. So what am I hungry for, guys? Steaks is always, ooh, pumpkin pie. I'm hungry for pumpkin pie. Okay, we got pumpkin pie. Now we won't starve to death. Let's take it back to survival mode. While I'm in creative, I had to grab a jukebox and a couple of albums and play us some music while we're doing this. Listen to Cat. Okay, now first thing we're going to do is we're going to place our redstone torch right here. And it's going to power this thing all the way up to that block right there where the hopper is. And we're going to jump up on top here, and we're going to put an observer block. Wait a second. Quit being silly. Yeah, we're going to, instead of climbing all over this thing, we're going to use our scaffolding. So what we're going to need is our observer blocks. We're going to place them on the hitbox of the torch. So the little smiley face is aiming down and the little red blip is aiming back up. We're going to put a dot of redstone dust on top of that. A block to the side. Let me get a block. And a block to the side. Now we're going to put a repeater right there. And I'm going to forget to put the repeater on the second tick, but I'm going to place a block right there on the front of the repeater. I'm going to put a redstone torch on the inside of that top uppermost block. Now we're going to place a piece of obsidian on top of that redstone torch. There we go. Okay, now this has got a normal block. This is going to be a temporary block. And this too will be a temporary block. And we're going to chop that block out of the way. We're going to place an observer block. And you need to be facing in this direction when you place it. And we're going to get our trapdoors out, and we're going to put them on our temporary block. Should lie flat just like that. Put a repeater on top of the observer. A redstone dust right there. So we have a torch going underneath that's going to be powering that redstone, powering that repeater, and it's going to make our trapdoor flip open. Now I remember to change that one. I forgot to change the one on top. Now, doing that in voiceover, you guys will see why in a second. It's going to be funny. Okay, so now, let's get our scaffolding back. Get our scaffolding back. All right. Okay, so everything's fired up pretty. We got Christmas lights going. Now we're going to build our return station. So what we're going to do is we're going to offset it by 1 right there. Now moving across, we're going to put 2 temporary blocks. And then now we're going to take advantage. What is it doing? Oh, that's cool. It's got a bottom. Look at that. Okay, so what? Yeah, we need scaffolding. Any way you can handle it. I can't, obviously. Any way you can handle it. Okay, so Now we're going to put a, we're going to need an observer on top of here, so I might have to change location. Yeah, jumping down here. Putting my scaffolding down. I'm sorry I'm making y'all watch me learn how to use scaffolding. Okay, observer block. Smiley face is in. Little red dot is pointing at us. We're not going to give that red dot a name. Okay, now we're putting a piece of obsidian right there. Redstone dust on top of the obsidian. Repeater right there. Notice I've forgotten to put that one on too also. Temporary block right there. Trapdoor on top of the temporary block. Chop that temporary block out of the way. Now, kids, don't do what I did. Don't forget to put your repeater on the second tick. I forgot to do that. Now, I'm confessing in my voiceover right here. I'm confessing. It's going to be so obvious in a minute that I forgot to do the right thing that there's no way you're going to mess this up. The only reason I left it in was it was so comical realizing what I'd done. And then I decided to leave it in. So, you know, laugh at me, laugh with me. I thought it was kind of funny. I left it in there. But honestly, there's no way you're going to make this mistake once you see what happens. Okay, grab your slime blocks, facing the front of the farm, put down right in front of that observer on the send station, and then right next to the next row over, put down slime blocks in that configuration. Should look like this. Right? No problem. Now we're going to put down sticky pistons on the inside face of that slime block right there. Right in that corner. Pop. Now, we're going to do the same thing standing on the front side of the farm facing towards the back. Same thing. There you go. And now if we stand back a little bit, that's what it should look like. Your pistons, your sticky pistons should be in the same lane as your observer blocks, facing your observer blocks. Let's get a better look. Just like this. Right? Now we're at the back of the farm looking forward. If we walk to the front of the farm looking at the back end of the farm, we'll see almost exactly the same thing. Come around here, okay, put down some scaffolding, jump up there, see? Same thing. Piston is facing the observer block. That lets you know you've done it right. Alright, let's put some wings on this flying machine. So, on the right side of the farm, facing towards the back. Oh, I'm sorry, we were on the front of the farm, facing towards the back. We're going to put 5 slime blocks coming out. Now on this side, we're going to put one on the back. One right there on that piston. And then we are going to extend it by 5. Or 4. Then lime colored glass on the outside, so it should look like this. Now we're going to need our furnaces. This is very important. Make sure you've got your furnaces. You're going to take the... Now, we're going to do an aerial view in a second. We're going to get up on the scaffolding. We're going to get an aerial view so you can see what it looks like from the top so you can make sure you got it right. If you've already made flying machines before, you know, sorry for, you know, going for all the detail. Alright, so it should be a flat, straight edge facing towards the back side of the farm. Now, you're going to want to get your... we're going to get up on top of the thing. Now, right there on the slime block in front of that piston, put a block. And put another. Now break that one out from underneath, so you got one floating in the air right there. Now put one right there, put one on top, chop out the bottom one, so you got two of them floating in the air. And now what you're going to do, put your furnaces on the back sides of your pistons. If you don't do this when you take the next step, I swear, man, your flying machine's going to take off. It's going to push you off your platform. It's going to ruin your day. Okay. Should look like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put observers on the underside of these slime blocks right here. Put one right there. Put one right there. Arrows on the sides of these observers are pointing down. That's how you know you've done it right. Now we're going to break this slime block right here. And then, shout out to Uncle Rob. And then, we're going to break the furnace off with our pickaxe. Break this furnace off with our pickaxe. And then we're going to break that slime block and get ready to move, because our flying machine is flying. And that's why you put your repeater on the second tick. See what it's doing there? Alright, you guys can't see it, but I'm trying not to panic. See what I'm doing with the scaffolding? I'm messing things up. Alright, I finally got the scaffolding under control. Second tick on the repeater like I should have done from the beginning. And the flying machine's headed back home. Alright, so that's why you always follow the rules, ladies and gentlemen. You don't do it, you have a bad moment like that. And that's why this section was done with a voiceover, because I can't tell you the kind of language I was using when that was happening in real life. Okay, so going back up here. Yeah. Okay, so the flying machine works. Let's climb up there and make sure that we have done everything correctly. Redstone torch. Now we broke that off just to test the thing and make sure he was gonna fly like he was supposed to fly. And he did. So we're happy, right? So now let's build ourselves some walls. I'm using white stained glass. You can use whatever you want as long as the blocks that are going to come in contact with your flying machine are made out of a block that is not gonna stick to slime blocks. So we start off by building a 1 high. And I'm on the back side of the farm. Now the side walls are going to be basically solid glass all the way up because the flying machine is not going to come in contact with them. Now I'm going to make these walls 4 high. Now if you decide to extend your timer, you can make these walls taller. Now 1 block up along the edge of the flying machine. 1 underneath the piston. Let's hop over the thing. Now on this side we're going to skip 2. Skip those 2 right there. And then we're going to pick it up right here. Building it 1 high. All the way to the corner. And we're going to put 2 right there because it's not going to come in contact with the flying machine. And then build it 2 high all the way down the side. And then when you get to the back here, you can build it up 1 right here on the side. And where the piston is, you can put 1 right there. Now let's get our glazed terracotta. Now glazed terracotta does not stick to slime blocks, so we're going to use that for this farm because it's kind of pretty and everything else is green, so let's do it. Now on this side, glass block on the corner because it's going to coincide with a glass block on our flying machine, and then more terracotta. Now we're going to need a terracotta underneath that, underneath the observable. Yeah, perfect. All right, it's right there. So everywhere a slime block is going to come in contact with this wall, you want a non-sticky block. All right, we're going to put 2 glass on top all the way across, so that's going to make our wall a total of 4 blocks in height all the way across the back wall. Now, when it comes to whether or not you've done this right, just remember a simple rule. Everywhere where a slime block is going to come in contact with the wall, you want to use a non-sticky block. Here's another place right here. Now, if you mess this up, it's not the end of the world. It's just going to stick to your flying machine and drag it across the farm, and you might have to add a couple of blocks in, break a couple of blocks off. But it shouldn't be like the end of the world. It'll be all right. Now we're going to build this up 2 high using glass blocks, just like this. Now to the other side. Whoops. Okay. That should be terracotta. Or melons or leaf blocks, whatever you got, whatever you're using. You know, the first one I built in the other world, I used leaf blocks because they're cheap and easy first thing, you know. I mean, it was enough of a pain in the butt to get slime blocks, right? So, had to take it easy somewhere. And there we go. We got the wall pretty much done. Now, there's just 1 or 2 blocks that we're going to have to place from underneath that are over here underneath the flying machine on the front side of the farm. And there they are. There we go. Now, when you're looking at the front side of your farm, at the wall, this is what you should see. On the left side, 4 terracotta blocks. In the middle there, 2 terracotta blocks on the bottom, and 1 on the top that's kind of the left side of your 2 slime blocks they're showing. And on the other side, there should be 5 terracotta blocks, okay? Now, going around to the back side of the farm and looking at it from the back side, you should see this. All right, we got 6 on that side. We got 5 on the right side. Easy peasy. And now for our last step, placing the bamboo inside the farm. And the hopper minecart. But we'll get there in a second. So what we're going to do is climb up our scaffolding, chop out these 2 glass blocks. I probably should have left it open, you know, from the beginning. And we're going to plant bamboo everywhere except for under the flying machine. And I'm going to show you a little bit of trick about this back wall. Now we're going to go ahead and plant bamboo across this back wall, but all of the bamboo sprouts or shoots or whatever they're called, they're growing right up against the glass. We might as well go ahead and break them, and I'll tell you why. The drops are very likely to land on top of these bamboo shoots and not get picked up by your hopper minecart. Better to go ahead and... Yeah, I think he's all right. Nah, let's get rid of him. Better to have the spot not planted and have a slightly less efficient farm for this reason than to go ahead and plant bamboo there and have drops hanging out making lag for you. Just go ahead and break them to begin with. Get it out of the way. Don't worry about it so much. The output from this farm is going to be fairly decent. And if you make the farm longer or make it wider or both, depending on how big a farm you want, the output can be outrageous. Now, for those of you who really enjoy big farms and really enjoy building big, you know, go ahead, go for it. Make this thing as large as you want. I'm thinking for my needs, I tend to lean a little bit more towards the smaller farms. and build them close together to each other so I can, have all of them kind of running at the same time with minimal lag, and hopefully, the output is enough to handle my needs AFK every now and again when I need to. So let's plug this back up, break our scaffolding, and our last, very, very last step. We got to put the hopper minecart in place, and we got to set the timer. Okay, so to set the timer, we're going to borrow a couple of stacks of bamboo from the other farm. Let's go with 2 stacks. 2 stacks ought to be about right. In the testing I've done, 2 stacks worked fairly well. Okay, so now what we do is going to take a redstone block and we're going to place it against that hopper right there, or the piston, and we're going to put both stacks of bamboo in the hoppers. It's immediately going to send off our flying machine. And now we're going to put our hopper minecart in place. Now what we're going to need to do is set off our hopper minecart real quick. So I'm going to go over here and grab a lever. I probably should have put the hopper minecart in place first. Let's just put a torch under there. There we go. Send off. And now if he comes back with the goods, if our little hopper minecart comes back with the goods, then we're done. This farm is rolling. It's ready to go. And our hopper clock is ticking. And there we go. We're halfway through the cycle. Okay, so next time that redstone block gets shifted over, it's going to kick off our flying machine and our hopper minecart. And we'll have a return on our investment. Okay, so now it's time to get an aerial view. We're going to stack up the scaffolding because 114, we got scaffolding. This is so awesome. And here we are. The bamboo farm. All finished up. Now you can notice that half the bamboo sprouts have not even matured enough yet to give us a drop. Now that's going to be an important detail when we get down there and check out our loot box and see how much we got. And there it goes, working perfectly. Alright, the hopper minecart has picked up everything. We're going to check the chest. See, not even half of the bamboo sprouts have grown yet. And we've already got a stack and a half, stack and a quarter, thereabouts, of bamboo. So that's going to be pretty good output for us. Now before we get into the outro, I want to mention a couple of things. If you happen to notice that drops are sitting here on top of this wall, then just go ahead and add another block in height, and it should solve the problem completely. Or you could build a roof on the thing because remember, bamboo will grow up to the underside of a block above it, but it won't be broken by it. But it would limit the growth height so that you didn't lose drops. But if you're going to build a roof on the thing, you're going to have to put a light source in here because bamboo requires light to grow, just like most other crops. So you could get in here and you could get yourself some sea lanterns from your guardian farm and light the ceiling up so that you have good light source. Or you could go with something maybe 114-ish like lanterns. Yeah, I love the lanterns. Just to keep the place well lit so that the bamboo will actually grow. Now I'm not sure, but I don't think that mobs will spawn in bamboo grows. But just having a good light source is going to be absolutely necessary for them to grow. Just bear that in mind. Now lastly, if you want a on-off switch for this thing, one good way to do it is to use a sticky piston, and you'll need a couple of blocks and a lever, and you can actually put a on-off switch. What you do is you go to the front of the machine and go to this observer, put 3 blocks out, break those 2, put a lever right there, turn it on, and then you put a sticky piston. It will automatically extend into your observer block. Flip that switch, and it removes that observer block, fires off the thing one last time. And now your farm is off. Now, you'll need to go ahead and put a lever over here if you do that and send off your minecart, because disabling the farm like this will not send off your minecart. It'll just send off the flying machine. But anyway, there's probably an easier way to do this, but that was the way that occurred to me, and it seems to work pretty good. So if you want to put an on-off switch, you can do it like that. And just remember to put a switch over there by your minecart. Now I'll go ahead and put one on this side too. If anybody comes up with a better idea, yeah, tell us in the comments. Let us know what you found. We'll give you a shout out. All right, so that's our bamboo farm in place. Everything is where it's supposed to be, and there it goes. It's kicking off again in the background. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I enjoyed myself. I really do enjoy doing tutorials in survival mode. It just feels a little bit more like home. It's how I really play the game. So if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and if you plan on building the farm, why don't you hit us up on Twitter or leave us a note and post a picture of your completed farm, and we'll give you a shout out. Also, I mentioned it in the last video, this farm was inspired by Gnembon, so find his link below and check him out. Now with that, we'll go ahead and sign off. I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for all the love, and have a great day.